Have you ever wondered how many calories you actually burn in a day, or how to boost that number for better weight loss results? In today's episode, you're going to learn how to calculate your total daily energy expenditure. You're going to discover ways to burn more calories effectively and understand the dangers of overtraining. By the end of this episode, you're going to have a clear plan to optimize your calorie burn without compromising your health. Before we dive in, if you're listening to on the Apple Podcast app or on the Spotify app, make sure you hit the follow button. And if you're watching on YouTube, then make sure you hit like and subscribe. You're listening to the Best You Podcast, where we teach you the healthy habits you need to look and feel like your best you. My name is Nick Carey, and I'm a body optimization coach and creator of the 10-Week Transformation. And the 10WT has helped over 700 people regain confidence in their bodies by making them leaner, stronger, and healthier than ever before. All right, you guys, today I'm really excited to talk about Total Daily Energy Expenditure, TDEE for short. I'm going to start off by breaking it up into three different parts today so that you guys can fully grasp this idea and not only understand it, but you know how to apply it so that you can achieve your body composition goals. You can look the way you want to feel, and you can look the way you want to look and feel the way that you want to feel. So let's start off by introducing total daily energy expenditure and why we actually care about this. So again, total daily energy expenditure is simply a number of the total number of calories that you burn on a daily basis. And oftentimes it gets abbreviated TDEE. So why do we care about this? I'm going to talk about it today from the lens of fat loss. So in order to burn body fat, in order to lose body fat, your body has to be in a caloric deficit or an energy deficit. And what that means is that your total daily energy expenditure, aka the number of calories you burn, has to be greater than your total daily energy intake, or the total number of calories that you intake. Once that expenditure number is greater than your intake number, then you unlock the ability to actually burn body fat and lose body weight. Now, how much? The law of thermodynamics says that in order to lose 1 pound of body fat, then you have to be in a calorie deficit of 3,500 calories across the week. Now, the way that a lot of people interpret that and apply that, I should say, not interpret it, but apply it, is to be in a 500 calorie deficit every single day for 7 days in a row, because 500 times 7 gives you that 3,500 calorie deficit. So total daily energy intake, it matters from the standpoint of losing body fat, because you, generally speaking, want to find a way to be in a calorie deficit of around 3,500 calories, maybe across a week or so, in order to expect a 1 pound body fat reduction per week. Okay, so what does total daily energy expenditure actually make up, or what makes up total daily energy expenditure? This is going to be part number 1 of 3. So what makes up TDEE is basically 4 different components. Number 1 is your BMR, or your basal metabolic rate. Before I go any further, if you would like to take notes during this, I would really highly recommend that you take notes. I know I'm a visual learner, so when I write down notes, it allows me to retain it better and allows me to apply it better. So there's going to be 4 different things that make this up. The first being basal metabolic rate, your BMR, and that can usually account for anywhere between 60 to 70% of the total number of calories that you burn on a daily basis. And that is the largest percentage of all the components. And what does that actually mean? That's essentially the number of calories that your body burns at rest by just living and carrying out its bodily functions, if you will. The second component of total daily energy expenditure is called your NEAT, or NEAT, which stands for your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And that can account for anywhere between maybe 15 and up to 50% of your total daily energy expenditure. This is just simply the activity that you do that's outside of planned exercise. So that's going on walks, that's walking from your car to the grocery store and back, that's fidgeting with your hands, that's walking around your house, if you will. So that is the second part, your NEAT. The third part is your EAT, your EAT, or your exercise activity thermogenesis. And that's exactly what it sounds like. That is your planned workouts, that's your planned exercise, that you're going to the gym and lifting weights, that you're going out on a run, you're going out for a bike ride, you're going for a swim. These planned bouts of exercise, those might take up anywhere between 15 to 30% of your total daily energy expenditure. And then lastly, the fourth component is your TEF, or your thermic effect of food. Now, this is essentially the number of calories that your body burns simply digesting, assimilating, and breaking down the food that you eat. Now, this might take up only about 8 to 15% of your total daily energy expenditure. Now, I'm going to run back through each of the four of them again and talk about kind of like what you can do to increase your total daily energy expenditure. So part one is the components of it. Part two is what can we do to increase the total daily energy expenditure now that we know what makes it up. So going back to your basal metabolic rate, there's a number of different things that can determine if your basal metabolic rate is high, if it's low, or if it's somewhere in the middle. Number one, it's your sleep. If we have poor sleep, our body is being told that we're in some sort of stress mode, if you will, and so it's going to be more likely to hold on to calories, because when our body senses some sort of stress, it's like, oh, we're going to need energy, so we're going to hold on to energy. We're going to conserve energy. So all of these things that slow down our basal metabolic rate are going to be different forms of a stress signal to the body. The first of which being poor sleep. So if we can get proper sleep of 7+ hours, that's going to help our basal metabolic rate be functioning more optimally. Now, I don't know, and if there is specific science around numbers to like how much more calories your body burns when you get 8 hours of sleep versus how much more calories your body burns if you get 5 hours of sleep. There might be numbers for that. As far as my education goes, I don't know if there is any numbers, but I do know that these things do impact the number of calories that your body burns on a regular basis. So proper sleep is number one. Stress levels is number two. Again, if you are in a state of stress, your body senses, okay, I'm going to need this energy for a future, quote, fight, if you will. And so I'm going to hold on to this and not burn as many calories as I would normally do. So whatever stress management looks like to you would be impactful in order to maintain effective levels of your basal metabolic rate. So that could just be, maybe you need to find more purpose in your life. Maybe we need a better mindset or better perspective. Maybe we need to meditate. Maybe we need to actually sleep more. Maybe we need to do breathing exercises. Maybe we need to spend more time with friends or more time off from work, whatever it is, to help manage your stress levels or stress management practices, whatever that means for you. The third one is I'm not going to be able to talk as in depth about is hormone levels. If your hormone levels are out of whack, that's another stress signal to the body to hold on and retain calories. The fourth one is going to be muscle mass. The amount of muscle mass that you have is going to dictate, there's going to be another thing that helps to dictate how fast your basal metabolic rate is, because muscle is a very metabolically active organ, meaning at rest, muscle burns more calories than fat does. So generally speaking, that's why somebody who has a lot of muscle is going to naturally burn more calories than somebody who does not have a lot of muscle. And then the last component of this is alcohol. If you are consuming a decent amount of alcohol, that's going to very much slow down your basal metabolic rate, because your body has to prioritize breaking down the alcohol in your body before it can prioritize breaking down body fat. So sleep, stress, hormones, muscle mass, and alcohol are all components that if we are doing well in those areas, our basal metabolic rate is going to be more optimally functioning. If we're not doing well in those areas, then our body is going to be conserving and holding on to calories, therefore potentially making it more difficult to lose weight. So that's basal metabolic rate. Your next one is your NEAT. How do we increase our total daily energy expenditure by focusing on our NEAT? Well, that's simply like being more active. A lot of us have desk jobs, and a lot of us are just sitting on the computer from 9 to 5 or from 9 to 4 or 8 to 4 or 8 to 5. And we might go up to go to the bathroom, and we might go up to grab lunch, but outside of that, we might just be sitting around a lot. And so really committing to being more active, whether that's at your job or whether that is going on a walk before you go to work or at lunchtime and or after work around dinner time. I kind of have 5 different tiers of what I would recommend with regards to your daily steps, if you will. Because this is like one of those things when it comes to increasing your NEAT, you can just be more active and move around and do whatever you want to do. But the objective way that you can actually track your activity levels over time is just seeing how many steps you get in. And that's the way I like to do it. So tier 1 is to get at least 8,000 steps a day. To me, these tiers are like, that is what you should do for baseline levels of health. And that some of you guys aren't maybe not even close to that right now. Don't freak out. but I would really recommend and encourage you to figure out what that might look like to get up to 8,000. So tier 1 is 8,000, tier 2 is 10,000, tier 3 is 12,000, tier 4 is 15,000, tier 5 is 20,000. Now, don't get me wrong. That's not like terrible as 1 and great as 5, because currently before doing my most recent cut goal, I was probably getting minimum of 6,000 a day, maximum of maybe 15,000 a day. And then during my cut goal, I focused on getting at least 15,000 every single day. And now that's kind of the number that I aim or shoot for every single day. If it's not 15, I'm at least getting 10. Love getting 12, but if I can get 15 every day, that's really what I love to do. So that's how to increase your NEAT by tracking steps. The third one is how do you increase your exercise activity thermogenesis? That's just being consistent with your workouts, because generally speaking, the number of calories that you burn during the planned workout period of time is going to pale in comparison with the total number of calories that you burn through these other mechanisms of your total daily energy expenditure. So it's not, now of course, if you're working out for 3 hours a day, multiple days a week, that's going to be a somewhat dramatic increase compared to if you're working out 1 hour a day, a few days a week, because that might be a jump of an additional 6, 7, 8 hours of actually working out. But generally speaking, for most people out there who are working out for anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes, for anywhere between 3 and 5 times a week, the number of calories that you burn during your workout is not going to play the biggest role when it comes to losing body fat. But the most important thing is just being consistent and getting your workouts in. And then fourth and finally, your thermic effect of food. Again, this is a somewhat small percentage of your total daily energy and expenditure, but when it comes to achieving that 3,500 caloric deficit on a weekly basis, if your goal is fat loss, then every little bit can add up. And so thermic effect of food, let me tell you that the 3 different macronutrients of fat, carbs, and protein all have different percentages when it comes to their thermic effect of food. So fat provides 9 calories per gram, and its thermic effect of food is at 0 to 5%. What does that 0 to 5% mean? That means for every 100 calories of fat that you consume, about 0 to 5 calories are burned by simply digesting and breaking down that fat. When it comes to carbohydrates, its thermic effect of food is 5 to 15%. So again, for every 100 calories of carbs that you consume, about 5 to 15% actually gets broken down and broken down when you're digesting the food. And then third and finally, protein. It has a thermic effect of food of anywhere between 20 to 30%. So that means if for every 100 calories that you consume, about 20 to 30 calories actually simply gets burned by your body needing to break it down and assimilate it. So i.e., to increase the number of calories that you burn from your thermic effect of food, you want to prioritize protein, because really you're only netting out maybe anywhere between 70 to 80 calories of the 100 calories that you're consuming. Therefore, again, providing you the benefit of helping you get to that caloric deficit if your goal is body fat loss. So again, how can you increase your total daily energy expenditure with each of these 4 components? For your BMR, get good sleep, manage stress, manage your hormones, improve muscle mass, and minimize alcohol. Number 2, with your NEAT, be more active by hitting at least 8, 10, 12, 15, 20,000 steps a day. Your EAT, be consistent with your workouts. And your thermic effect of food, make sure you get adequate protein in the amount of about 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of your ideal body weight. Now, before I go into part 3, which is the dangers of working out too much when it comes to body fat loss, I want to talk about really the most accurate way to determine what your actual total daily energy expenditure is. Now, if you have a wearable device, like I'm showing right here, if you're watching on YouTube, I've got a Garmin, and I absolutely love the Garmin, especially with tracking my steps, tracking my heart rate and whatnot. These things will predict how many calories that you burn on a daily basis. From what I've learned, they're not very accurate. They are not very accurate. Now, if you do it every single day and use it as a baseline, then it will determine whether you are more active on certain days compared to other days. But if it says that you burned 2,500 calories that day, then it might be wrong by anywhere between, now I'm making these numbers up, it might be wrong by anywhere between 200 to 700 calories. And so using that to calculate the number of calories that you should be intaking is a little bit difficult. But the most accurate way that you can actually determine how many calories your body is burning, your total daily energy expenditure, is by tracking your calories every single day across, let's say, a week, or you could do it for 2 weeks. And every single one of those days, weigh yourself and log your weight. If you start at, let's just, for ease of numbers, let's say you're 200 pounds and day one that you do this. Let's say you log your calories, and after 2 straight weeks, you log your calories and you, on average, consume 2,500 calories a day, and you, on average, still stayed at 200 pounds, that would tell you that you're burning about 2,500 calories a day because your weight stayed the same and you consumed this many calories. So that's saying your body is at maintenance. Your body is at an energy, it's not surplus, not deficit, at energy equality, I guess, is the term potentially. I don't even know if that's actually used or not, but bear with me. Your body is at energy equality. If you had gained weight over that time, and let's say you had eaten on average around 2,500 calories, that means you were at a surplus. So that might mean that you're burning somewhere less than 2,500. And then on the flip side of things, if you consumed an average of 2,500 calories a day, and across those 2 weeks you lost on average 1 pound, that means you were eating in a calorie deficit. So your body is actually burning more than 2,500 calories per day. So that's really the most accurate way. Now, that's a laborious way to go about it because you have to track your calories every single day and weigh yourself every single day. But generally speaking, if you're looking to really nail this thing down, that's the way to go. Now, when we go into part 3, before going into part 3, I want to let you guys know that the next 10-week transformation begins October 7th and goes until December 13th. Look, if you want to ensure that throughout the holiday season, you don't fall subject and victim to the candy during Halloween, to the Friendsgivings throughout Thanksgiving season, and to all the sweets as we head into December, then the 10-week transformation is for you. You can go to nickcarrier.com/10WT and you can sign up for the in-person today for the 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 10 a.m. group, or you can sign up for the virtual group as well. Spots are really flying off the shelf, I should say, for the in-person groups. So if you're looking to get in the class here in Nashville, make sure you register today because look, you don't want to wait until 2025 to get your butt in gear. You don't want to wait until 2025 to start looking and feeling better than you look and feel right now. And you sure as hell don't want to eliminate all the results and progress that you've made throughout 2024 right now in these last 3 months of the year, because in the last 3 months of the year, on average, people put on 5 to 10 pounds of body fat because they're in this calorie surplus and they're not expending as many calories as they're taking in, and that you don't want that to be you. So if you need somebody to help hold you accountable, let me be that guy. Go to nickcarrier.com/10WT. Now, part number 3, the dangers of working out too much and body fat loss, is the following. So many people think that in order to lose weight, I have to work out hard and I have to work out a ton because I'm going to be burning a lot of calories. But here's the thing. When it comes to achieving that caloric deficit, in the beginning, I talked about total energy expenditure needs to be greater than total daily energy intake in order to lose body fat. However, we just talked about total daily energy expenditure, and we talked about how basal metabolic rate is the biggest component. Then NEAT is the second biggest component. And then just a little bit is exercise and a little bit of that thermic effective food. So everybody can go about achieving a caloric deficit their own way, in the way that makes most sense for them and that is most sustainable for them. But for most people, the most sustainable way and the most practical way to achieving the caloric deficit is going to be, of course, being consistent with their workouts, but it's going to be by ensuring their total daily energy intake is at the right amount. They want to make sure they are not over-consuming with food. So it's easiest, generally speaking, maybe not everybody, it's going to be one of the easiest ways to lose body fat to make sure you manage the total daily energy intake side of the things down rather than excessively ramping the energy intake up, because when you work out so much, your appetite goes up. And then if your appetite goes up, you might end up overeating if you're not careful. And the other thing is, like, when you're in a caloric deficit, you're in an energy deficit. Therefore, you are not going to be able to work out maybe as hard because you don't have the calories in that your body needs to maintain its current composition, if you will. So working out too much, if your goal is body fat loss, can definitely be dangerous if it causes you to overeat and you're not able to maintain energy levels because you're not eating enough. So I hope this was educational. I hope I provided some insight and guidance for how you can go about attacking your body fat loss goals. Again, if you have a body fat loss goal and you want to lose another 5, 10, 15 pounds throughout October, November, December, come join the 10-week transformation. If your goal is to just maintain your current weight so that you don't put on holiday weight and you can pick right back up where you left off in January, join the 10-week transformation by go to nickcarrier.com/10WT. Other than that, I hope today's episode educated you on how our body goes about burning calories, and I hope this helps you get closer to your health and fitness goals, and ultimately, I hope it gets you closer and closer to your best you.